Your welcome email is basically when someone subscribes, you want to set up an automated email that goes to them, welcoming them and thanking them for subscribing. Now, what a lot of people do who do this is they just sort of send a generic email that says, welcome, thanks, you'll get the newsletter on Saturday or whatever. That is a massive missed opportunity. I'd actually say welcome emails are sort of the biggest missed opportunity from most people because they just don't think about them. The goal of your welcome email is to get a reply. And I'm going to explain that as we go in a bit. But you want to keep that in mind, that you're not just welcoming them and thanking them or asking them to do something for you. You want to create a reason for them to reply, right? And I'll show you how to do that in a second. What this does is the welcome email also, when you do that, creates an amazing opportunity to learn about your audience on an individual level. And collectively, if you're getting all of these replies, that can inform your content, your marketing, give you a better sense of who is subscribing to this and who you're attracting. And it can even create an immediate sales opportunity depending what you do and how you do it and what you ask them and what you get them to tell you. So this is my welcome email. You could very easily adapt it to your own thing. It is incredibly successful. So I know it might be a little small, so let me sort of take you through it. So on the left-hand side is the email people get. At the top of it, there's just a quote that I like and will grab people's attention. Then I say, thanks for subscribing to For the Interested. To make sure you get the newsletter and it doesn't land in your spam folder, you can add my email address to your contacts. My goal is to help you produce, promote, and profit from your creations. The more I know about what you create and the challenges you face, the better I'll be able to help. So if you reply to this email and tell me a bit about your work, a couple things will happen. Number one, I'll respond with a specific suggestion for you. Seriously, I always reply. Number two, I'll be able to spread the word about your creations to more people. I love to promote my readers' work whenever possible. By the way, moving forward, you'll get a one-paragraph email from me on weekdays and a full newsletter on Sunday. Thanks for your interest. P.S. You also may want to check out This Is How I Do It, which is a paid product of mine, and the rest of my universe. So I get a lot of replies to this. I would say probably 35 to 40% of the people who subscribe actually reply to me. The reason is this is not about me asking them to do something. This is about me offering them something, right? My audience is creators and entrepreneurs. Chances are they love a specific suggestion about how I can, help, or something they can do to improve their work or get whatever they want. And number two, everybody would love me to spread the word and promote their stuff to more people, right? So it's not surprising that this gets a lot of replies. And you can see on the top right-hand side, that's just like a screenshot of, by the way, the subject line I use for this is, what do you create and how can I help? The subject line is not welcome to For the Interested, right? Personal. I don't want them to think it's a generic welcome email, right? What do you create and how can I help is probably going to get people to open it, and it does. And so I get a lot of replies to this, and I want to give you a sample on the bottom right here. So this is a reply I just got a couple days ago. He said, thanks, Josh. I'm following you on Twitter, but your reply to Dylan is what got me to visit your profile and subscribe. I want you to know how you got me to click. So here's my story. I've been training social media strategy to companies and the public since 2009. So this is how I make my income. Number one, membership, blah, blah, blah. I offer $49 a month session, blah, blah, blah. Number two, I offer full-time freelance consultation to corporations. This is short term from 3 to 12 months, high ticket. And then he goes on with some more personal stuff that I'm not sharing. Now, my business, my products, my clients are helping people like this grow their audience and business. This guy just think about the value of what this guy just told me. Number one, completely unprovoked, other than his response to this automated welcome email, right? He just told me how he found me, which is helpful for me to know from a marketing standpoint, why he subscribed. He told me what he does. He told me what he charges. He told me what his products are. I have a sense of how much he makes. I have all of this completely unprovoked. And by the way, this is not unusual. People will give me people love to talk about themselves. They will give me their life story, right? And they will do the same for you if they get a welcome email offering to help them. So I see LaDonna here, right? And I know we've talked in some of the other sessions about your audience in a newsletter for affluent adventurers, right? So if you had a welcome email like this that was sort of, tell me about your best trip or what you like to do, or whatever, it's very easy to see how someone would reply, and they would go, oh, I absolutely love going to beaches, and we're real adventurers, and we've been to the Bahamas and we've been to Hawaii, but we really like going to obscure places. Any recommendations? Right? Like, that is not far-fetched at all. And you're providing value, you're building relationships, and so this system, so not only is it effective, so a couple things happen. Number one, if you're going to do this, you need to reply when people reply. If you ignore them, that doesn't set a great template for your business. That said, you don't need to reply immediately. So I try to get back to everyone within a week or so, right? Do not feel the pressure of like, oh, you instantly have to reply or you're ignoring them, right? They get it, it's fine. When you reply, people will be blown away. Number one, lots of people reply to me just to say, like, I've never seen a welcome email. Like, is this for real? Like, are you actually gonna, I get a lot of that too. Like, are you actually gonna reply? Like, they can't believe when someone replies. And that, in terms of brand and marketing, it's like, it establishes your relationship with them right off the bat. And that impression goes forever, right? So when I reply to people, I'll usually send them, a suggestion, depending what it is or who it is, I might give them a custom suggestion of like, oh, you should do this. I might refer them to my content. Here's a few articles that'll help you with that. I'll typically plug a product or something as well, right? Here's a couple free articles. So for this guy, I might go, oh, here's a couple articles you might find helpful about how to grow your business. And oh, by the way, if you're interested in some one-on-one help, I also do consulting, right? I have had these welcome emails directly lead to sales and clients, people who had no context of me whatsoever, found something, signed up for my newsletter, got this welcome email, replied with their situation. I replied with some suggestions, and then they hired me. So it's, again, I can't recommend this approach enough. Again, it depends what you're doing, but in general, I think it can be very helpful. The other way it's helpful, a quick word about deliverability, and this can get technical, and so I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole. But basically, when people reply to you, anytime someone replies to your email or mass email that you send, it sends a signal to Gmail and Outlook and all those things that you're not a spammer, right? The more people reply, the better sort of your ranking is, the more likely your emails are to avoid spam filters and promotions tabs, right? So even if people don't add you to their address books. So all of these replies to the welcome email, when someone replies, they're going to see my next email because they've essentially told Gmail, I'm not a spammer, right? The other thing is Gmail is looking at my account as a whole. So the more replies I get, the more favorably it's like, oh, well, 20% of people reply to this guy's email, so he's probably not a spammer, right? So that's the other thing. A welcome email getting a reply can help you also land in more people's inboxes and stay out of spam filters. So thank you page can also be optimized. Slightly less important in my mind than a welcome email, although it is still an opportunity. So thank you pages, when someone subscribes on your sign up page or wherever they subscribe, you usually have the ability to redirect them to a thank you page, basically. That's, again, you're reaching people as opposed to just something that says, confirmed, thanks for signing up. You have the opportunity to talk to someone who trusts you enough that they just gave you their email address, like they're interested, right? So that page could be, an opportunity to promote something, right? Oh, thanks so much for subscribing to my newsletter. Here's some of my most popular posts that I think you might like. Or thanks so much for subscribing to my newsletter. Here, you can surprise and delight, right? Surprise, here's a 10% discount on our product. If you buy, oh, by the way, if you book a consulting call today, I'll give you a 25% discount, right? Like you can do whatever, but an opportunity to promote, an opportunity to reward, like I was just talking about. It's also an opportunity to measure your success. This is especially true if you're going to do Facebook ads and that kind of thing. They're going to measure conversions by people that hit that thank you page. So you're definitely going to want a page to redirect them to if you're tracking conversions and all that kind of stuff. And then it's also an opportunity to establish your brand voice. Again, it's such a missed opportunity. Someone has just given you their email address. They're sort of excited. They sort of trust you. And then to greet them with just a generic, like, standard thank you for subscribing, check your email to see, it's just a missed opportunity. So, and that's true with all this stuff, not just related to newsletters, but everything is an opportunity to establish your brand and voice and personality with your audience. So this is a perfect example of that. This is the subscribe button on my sign up page. You'll see I ask for name and email. The button, instead of just saying submit or subscribe, I say I'm interested. So play on for the interested. But then the line below it, which would normally be some generic "we won't spam you" thing, I changed to "your information will never be shared because I'm not a jerk." That line, I have had multiple people tell me they subscribed solely because of that line, because it says something about who I am and what my newsletter is, and the sort of brand or personal voice. Every little detail can be twisted to your own. You don't have to go with the defaults. They're all opportunities, right? How few people do you ever see change the line that said whatever the generic line is about, your information won't be shared or whatever, right? And I share this not necessarily because you have to do that, but I think when you start to look at all of it, right, all these things, welcome emails, thank you pages, they're opportunities to convey whatever your brand voice is, right? Whether that's fun or encouraging or inspiring or whatever sort of emotions you want to convey. You have chances to convey them. You just have to look at, once you get in that mindset of everything's an opportunity to stand out, then it's much easier to sort of take advantage of those. You can also optimize your content, whatever content you're doing. So again, this first one, a start here page, is not even, this would be on your website. It's not even just for a newsletter. I think it's a good idea on your website to have a start here page in the navigation, as opposed to letting people sort of, just assuming they'll find their way around. If you have a start here in your navigation, it'll get lots of clicks, and it allows you to guide them to what you want them to go to and see and understand. It's also a great place to plug your newsletter, obviously, because the people that are clicking that are going to be people who are new to your world and probably are not on your newsletter. Blog posts, we talked about this a bit before. Obviously, you should plug your newsletter in your blog post. I recommend plugging it within the content of the blog post, not just with a form at the bottom or the sidebar. You also, when promoting it, want to make it relevant. So for example, if I had a newsletter in which I shared social media tips and I had a blog post about how to grow on Twitter, when I referenced it, I wouldn't just say, oh, by the way, get my social media tips newsletter. I would say, oh, for more Twitter tips, get my newsletter, right? A Facebook or a blog post about Facebook would be for more Facebook tips, get my newsletter, right? So I'm matching the sign up prompt to the content that people are reading because I know it'll be 100% match. I'm not lying. I'm not going to say, oh, get my newsletter about Twitter if it's not about Twitter. But if my newsletter is about social media and some of it is Twitter tips, there's nothing wrong with positioning it as, if you want more Twitter tips, get this newsletter. By the way, again, I'll use LaDonna as an example again. It's the same thing as if you had a piece of content that was about beach vacations and your newsletter was about vacations generally, but some of them are beach vacations. I would plug it as, for more info on great beach vacations, check out my newsletter. Not for more info about vacations, check out my newsletter. Match what they want. If they're reading that article, you already know they're interested in beach vacations, so they're going to be more likely to subscribe. Pop-ups, a quick word about pop-ups. I'm sure you've seen them. I'm sure they annoy you and drive you crazy. First of all, they do work. You will get more subscribers. Uh, they also will annoy people. It's a personal preference. I don't think there's anything wrong with using them. I don't think there's anything wrong with not using them. Personally, I don't use them. Um, but you will get signups, but you'll also get people that are annoyed. If you do decide to use pop-ups, there's lots of different ways to use them. They can pop up when people first hit the page. They can pop up when people are leaving the page. They can pop up only after people scroll down. They can pop up only after people have viewed multiple pages. You can, whatever you're using to power the pop-up, you can figure that out. But the big takeaway is, yes, they work. No, you don't have to use them. Don't feel bad either way. It's sort of up to you. And then videos, if you're doing videos similar to blog posts, you absolutely should reference your newsletter in every video with a very clear ask for people to subscribe. If you're a YouTuber, at the end of the video, you don't just want them to subscribe on YouTube, you want them to get the newsletter. And then also you obviously want to put links in the video descriptions on YouTube and that kind of thing. The big takeaway here, and by the way, it's also true of TikTok and Instagram and anything. The big takeaway here is that any content you're putting out there, you should be including references and driving people to the newsletter. They're all opportunities to grow your audience. Use a here's what you missed email. So this is a tactic that when people hear it, they think is going to annoy people. I thought it was going to annoy people. It doesn't. They love it. I get thanked all the time. And it's a guaranteed way to basically get at least 15% more opens for every issue you send. Basically, you send your newsletter and then you resend it to people who haven't opened it after a few days. When you resend it, change the subject line to here's what you missed or something like that. And add a line at the top of the newsletter explaining why people are getting it. Hey, looks like this might have got lost in your inbox. Just wanted to resend it to you. Don't resend it without acknowledging that you're resending it for a reason. So, for example, for me, my newsletter goes out on Sunday morning. I resend it Friday afternoon. The other thing I would suggest when you're doing the resend, pick a different time of day. So you'll notice for me, the main newsletter goes out on a weekend morning. The follow-up goes out on a weekday afternoon. Trying to hit different people. Oh, maybe they didn't open it because they're busy on Sunday morning, so Friday afternoon is better. This will work. Some people will unsubscribe, just like some people unsubscribe anytime you send anything. But most people that do unsubscribe, they weren't paying attention anyway. So you might as well have them off your list. Like I actually like that this sort of runs some people off. Because if you're not opening it, you're not helping anything anyway. And that said, if anyone does reply, and email tracking is certainly not 100% and it's getting worse. So you will get some people who reply and say, oh, but I did open it, I do open it, or I'll get to it when I get to it, and don't send me these follow-ups. I will opt them out. So that's the other thing. Like, it's not that they have to get it. I just segment anyone who does complain about it to me, or say they don't want it, or say they did open it, I'll just opt them out so they won't get it moving forward. But it's a net positive, and you'll get a lot more opens for each issue.